regarding this interview with Alisha Simpkins, I've got one word for you. Wow. Like, I'm dead serious. The value that she brings about overcoming challenges, right? You look at her now, she's built an empire, one of the highest producing agents in Northern California. But you look at where she came from and what she overcame. These stories are going to inspire not just you and others in the real estate industry. They're going to inspire your children. They're going to inspire your friends and family. Like, I literally cannot wait to get this episode out to tons of people, because Alisha Simpkins is an inspirational story, and you're going to love hearing from her. Get this episode, listen to it, and then share it with as many people as you can, because legitimately it will change your life. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddart. Absolutely thrilled today to bring you a guest who has overcome amazing odds to create an empire. Today, we're going to talk about specifically how to build an empire so your kids don't hate you, or in a way that your kids don't hate you. Let me just say this before we even get started. The content that Alisha Simpkins is going to share with us today is going to extend far beyond the confines of this interview. So I want everybody listening here today to take down a pen and to go register for an event that she's going to be doing. We're going to be doing together on September the 2nd. Wednesday, September 2nd at 12 noon Pacific time. If you go to this domain, bit.ly /Empire Mom. Again, bit.ly /Empire Mom. You can register to hear more of what you're going to hear today. So again, just in case you didn't catch the whole episode, I had to get that in because, again, the story that we're going to hear from this amazing lady today is going to blow your mind. Alisha, thank you so much for coming on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you.
Let's go back. You received the news. Now, hold on. Let me kind of share this. You are an amazing mom of 3 beautiful children, a wonderful wife, a fantastic realtor, right? One of the biggest, highest producing realtors in Northern California. And yet it didn't always look so rosy, did it?
No, not at all.
Would you say that there were some people earlier in your life, and I'm gonna kind of open up and disclose some of your personal information here. I hope this isn't too much, but you became a mom as a teenager, right? And my guess, Alisha, is that there were some people at that point that were betting against you, saying, here we go, just another statistic. She's never going to amount to anything, right? Did you ever hear that? Did those thoughts ever go through your mind? Talk to us a little bit about that phase in your life, because I think this episode is not only going to help real estate agents, I really think this episode is going to help even our youth, right? Our youth right now are going through some uncharted waters, right? Their school looks different. Their sports programs look different, if they're happening at all. They're confined to home, away from friends. Like, there's some stuff going on that's hard for them. And I think whoever listens to this is going to be able to maybe tag somebody or share this with somebody that's a youth, to say, hey, look, even though things are tough right now, maybe even though you haven't made, like all the decisions that you would have loved to looking back, you can turn it around. You can be like an Alisha Simpkins. And so again, I hope this episode, again, appeals to a lot of people. So again, going back, talk to us about that moment when you're a teenager and all of a sudden you've got a big responsibility you're bringing into this world. What was going through your mind? Were you like dismayed, concerned? Like, talk to us about that.
As you know a little bit about my story, and that I'll be able to share again on September 2nd, growing up with a very unconventional type of family, everybody bet against us. I mean, there wasn't many people throughout my childhood that believed in us whatsoever, from parents to grandparents to most people, just assumed, based on the conditions that we were raised in, that we didn't have a chance. Where I did find a lot of my acceptance was with school, because we were safe there. We had power there. We had water there. And the way that those teachers looked at me, it gave me hope. It made me realize that I did have something inside of me that could break whatever cycle we were on the path to go. And I think for me, the scariest thing was how much I believed in myself to get me through a lot of those dark nights. So fast forward to the day when I was 17 years old, I did get pregnant. And for me, it was anybody who did start to believe in me were completely taken aback by the fact that there she goes. You know, I knew that this would happen. I knew that she would fall prey to the history that life has given her so far. So for me, it was a sad moment, not to mention I was pregnant at the same time as my mom. So that was something that was hard for me. During my pregnancy, there was a time when I was homeless. When I did have my son, when I was 17 years old, I also had custody of my two little brothers at the time who were, I believe, 12 and 13. So not only did I have to overcome trying to be a teenage mom and put myself through high school, but I had to figure out how I was going to raise my two little brothers at the same time. So there was quite a bit that was thrown at me that I had to figure out very quickly.
Boy, this is more of your story than I've heard. And I'm even more inspired than I thought I would be, because I didn't realize the background, right? That your family tree actually had kind of a history, and that people, even within your own family, were almost marking the date that, oh yeah, she's going to mess up. Oh yeah, of course. That's who we are, right? That's what we do. And I think if there's something that we've all learned, during this period of time, is that not everybody starts with the same background. Not everybody starts with the same advantages as other people. What I hope to inspire to everybody that listens to this is that you don't have to accept that as your destiny, right? Like whatever disadvantaged situation you started with, you don't have to accept that as your future. It's your past. Absolutely. You can't necessarily, you can't change your past, but you can change your future. I'm so excited to get into your story. Okay. So now we're at this phase where you're raising a family, not just your own child. You're helping raise siblings, and not necessarily even with a home at times. My goodness, what caused your mindset at that point to be strong enough to not just like get on drugs and become a product of the system, a statistic, right? Like how did you rise above and move forward?
Sure. I'm fortunate enough to share my story with a lot of teenagers and young adults to basically share with them that it probably would have been nice to have a great example of values and dreams and goals and be part of something that I can look to strive to. But I didn't get that luxury. But sometimes I believe, and what I have to believe is, the example that I did get of what I never wanted to be like was much greater to me and fueled me to never ever, well, fear of failure, number one, but never ever be the way that I was raised, to be in the environment that I was raised, to be in the relationships that I had growing up. So the picture of what I didn't want to me was greater, I believe, than a picture of what you could be.
Interesting. So as you looked around and saw the environment that you had come from, rather than saying, I guess that's me, I guess that's who I'm supposed to be, it became like a real deep motivator for you to say, that's exactly what I don't want to be.
My motto in life is never will I ever. Never will I ever be homeless. Never will I ever have my kids know what it's like to not have power or water or food on the table, or a mom who doesn't show up every single night or care about picking them up from friend's house or showing up to practice, or never will I ever be that. And I won't.
Boy, this story hits close to home, because how fortunate are your kids? And I'll say this, for those that don't know my story very well, my mom's childhood actually looked fairly similar to yours. She was also a teenage mom, right? Unexpectedly. And she had a choice at that point, very similar to yours. I could become a product of the system, or I can absolutely go 180 degrees in the opposite direction and provide a totally different scenario and situation for my family. I will say that as a big thinker, aspiring high achiever, like I owe so much to that decision that both she and my dad made at that time, to say, look, this isn't what we had necessarily scripted to have happen, but it's happened. So we're going to buckle up and do it. Right. And I look at the courage, especially of my mom, right, amongst all the ridicule, all of her like friends, right, who very easily could have been in a similar situation. And they, just the mocking and the shame and the embarrassment. And she set all that aside and said, I'm going to create a different life for myself. And I'm a product of that decision, right?
Yeah.
And so your kids are going to be a product of your decision. You've essentially changed an entire generation, an entire family tree, because you were strong enough to say, you know what? That is not my destiny. In fact, it's the opposite of what I want.
Yes.
Powerful.
Yes.
So powerful. Let's fast forward now. You get into real estate. Talk to us about how that came to be.
I was a paralegal for our federal law firm, and I realized that I was, which I always knew, I was an incredibly hard worker. I knew, again, with that fear of failure that fueled me, that there was no chance that would allow me to get anywhere near where I was growing up. So, excuse me, for me, I knew that showing up every day, showing up my best, that was what I had control over. And I worked my butt off. I was the first one in the office, the last one to leave, the one that was able to do much more than the average person, because my desire to never want to fail, or the fear of failure, drove me to succeed at times when most didn't. So I was doing a lot of work for my attorney, and I realized that the amount that I was putting in wasn't paying off as fast as I thought it should. And my husband, who was my fiance at the time, said, I think I'm going to look into real estate. And I said, well, that sounds great. I'm going to take the test too. So I took the test. And when I got into real estate, I realized that this was a field that would allow me to get paid in direct correlation of the activities and the work I put into it. And that was, for me, eye-opening, because I only know how to work my butt off. And I happened to get in the real estate world when the market crashed, which most would say that's awful, where I said, this is amazing. I only knew how to lead generate and to door knock and to show up every single day for 10 hours a day and make sure that I was doing the activities that most agents weren't. And that allowed me, when the market did shift, to still continue to do the activities most agents wouldn't, but it allowed my phone to ring in times where most people's weren't, because I put the work in when most were sitting on the couch and sulking in a bad market.
And I think that's a real key for anybody that's listening to this, is that it looks like an overnight success, right? I think all of us, once you hear your story, you're like, that was anything but but an overnight success. But it is interesting when you look at people that are big thinkers, high achievers, you think like, I could never do that. They've got some gift, some talent that I don't have. And the reality is, years ago, they were doing things that other people were unwilling to do. And now it's just manifesting. Now it's harvest time, right? And it's never too late to start to plant. It's never too late to cultivate, right? If you want to harvest, the best way is not to be jealous of other people's harvests. That's not actually how you go about doing it. That's a good way to make yourself miserable, right? And try and tear down what other people have done. The antithesis of that is to say, look at somebody like Alisha and say, well, if she can do it, and that was the pattern that she followed, then I'm going to follow that same pattern, right?
Absolutely. I did. I got lost with success, and there was a time when all I knew in my family was how to work really hard to create the life that I was never given. And when I started making really good money, I lost focus on what else I needed to do. And that was my home life and my business for a good 6 years. What I didn't realize, because I had my head in the sand and was working extremely hard, is that was falling apart. And so that was a really big eye-opening moment for me, the moment I realized that what I thought I was building, I was actually destroying.
Wow. Okay, so this is getting into the meat of the episode, right? Which is, and the promise that we made to those that are listening is, how do you actually build an empire without having your kids hate you, right? So it hasn't been all like sunshine, unicorns, and rainbows since you made that decision to suck it up and be a great mom and go from paralegal to realtor. Like, it hasn't been a straight upward trajectory. What I'm hearing you say is you've had other challenges come along, other dips in the road, where you've kind of, the wheels have fallen off and you're like, crap, I'm not doing that right. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a real threat, right? Is that whether moms get caught up in success or just the need, the financial need of a growing family, right? And this thought that the more I produce, the more I can pay for stuff and pay for my absence, right? I'll be out doing this. I'll be able to give them the best of tutors or mentors. I'll be able to give them the best of the video game consoles, of the toys, of the sports teams, and that will suffice. And I can step aside and go work, and they're well taken care of because I'm writing all the checks. And what I hear you saying is that as a mom, there's actually no substitute for you. There's actually nothing that can take the place of you. Now, there's other specialties and people that come in and can help kids grow in areas like sports teams and mentors and tutors and all of that. But what I hear you saying is that you realize the fact that you couldn't be replaced. True?
That wasn't what they needed. They didn't need the tutors. They didn't need someone to put dinner on the plate for them. They didn't need to make sure that power, although that's a necessity, was on. They needed their relationship with me. And they needed those moments with me, number one, where they knew that I cared, that I knew that I loved them, and that I got off my phone. And I lived on my phone because for me, it was my way of providing for them. And I got lost in the moment, and I would book these amazing vacations, and I would say, but look what you get. We're spending 2 weeks in Turks and Caicos on the beaches resort. And I never would get that as a kid. My vacations were camping in my backyard. Like you have no idea. I would always say, you have no idea how lucky you are. And in their hearts, they were thinking, I don't know how lucky I am because I don't feel special. I don't know that I'm loved. They didn't know, and they shouldn't have known the problems I went through. It wasn't fair. My son would tell me all the time, who's now 21, he would say, I don't care. When you say you should see the way I had it, that I was hungry, I don't care. And I never understood that. But the truth is he shouldn't know what I experienced because it doesn't matter for him. That was my life that I was trying to break and create something new for him, a different experience that he would never have to live through. So why was I trying to force my childhood and my experiences on him? Because it made me feel better, right? It made me show him that he has something better. But what we all really want, as much as we do want those nice vacations, is to feel loved and to feel like you have a parent who cares about you.
Boy, such profound lessons. We really live in a time where we have accessibility to communication at a rampant level. And if we're not careful, we can spend our kids' lives with our eyes, not on their eyes, but on our screens. It's a real challenge, right? I think for all of us. How are you? I would imagine it's not like completely cured and fixed, and you never have challenges. What do you do to keep your family at the forefront and keep it to where when you're with them, the phone doesn't take center stage?
I turn off my phone. I made a vow at a class called Hold for Keller Williams in January. I looked at my accountability partner, and she put on her paper, I think it would change my world if I never brought my phone in my room. And I went, that sounds great. Like, I'm going to do that. And for most people, it's hard. For me, it was moving the charger in the kitchen. And I know that my phone has to charge every day. And I will swear to anybody that as of, I think it was January 16th to this day, my phone has never made it in my room. I just believe that when I'm at work, I work hard. And when I'm at home, I love hard. And I do, on my 411, which again is another Keller Williams document, I put on there my yearly goal is to go out separately with each of my kids and my husband. My kids are once a month. My husband's date nights are more than that, but we do something special. And depending on their age, it increases or decreases. My son is 21 and my daughters are 11 and 12. So telling 11 and 12-year-olds one day a week, we're going to do something special, they just go, why? Like, what did I do? Why do I have to spend time with you over my friends? So but I am very purposeful with those relationships and those date nights. A little bit of a side note, but My husband and I, about 4 years ago, started counseling every week because we found ourselves getting off track with raising kids. And I used to be embarrassed to say that. And I'm so proud of saying every single week, whether we have an issue to discuss or not, we commit to going to counseling. We actually have it today at 3. I am very big on making sure that we never get, whether it's my kids and I, my husband and I, my relationships don't suffer before it's too late to fix them. So I'm very proactive in self-growth. I listen to podcasts and read books every single morning. I wake up at 5 a.m. and I work out, just a 30-minute workout. And then I have an accountability FaceTime with one of my friends at 6 a.m. And from 6 to 7, it's me time. It's my growth time. I know that I need to constantly make sure that I'm working on myself. Right now I'm reading Present Over Perfect. So I'm constantly making sure that I remember what's extremely important and that I work on that on a daily basis.
Interesting. This counseling idea, I think right now, I mean, I'm concerned about the mental health of our country and of the world, right? People are in different circumstances, oftentimes not having human contact or human touch. You know, if you're in one of those either health or age categories where you're not supposed to be around people, right? There's people who right now are struggling, and it might not just be them. It might just be people that are, you know, that are single, living alone, and or that they just aren't super connected to their family and they're struggling. And so I think your example of getting help, it's okay, right? Just like we talk about in business, like it's actually admirable to have a coach. You've kind of taken on this counselor as this is our marriage coach. This is my parenting coach. This is somebody who I lean on to say, as an outsider perspective, help me to see what I can't see. It's a powerful thought.
Yeah. When I also had a major, when I started becoming depressed with how much I was putting into work and how much my family was falling apart, I started drinking like every day. And that was one thing that helped me cope with being the person that I became, which was a workaholic. It numbed me. It numbed me to their feelings. It numbed me to the problems with my marriage. It was something that I thought was a problem, but it was never, the feeling was never enough to where I could quit myself. And, you know, I would go into my counselor and I remember asking her, how do I know I have a problem? Which to me was my number one question, that I knew I had a problem when I started asking people that. And she said to me, you have a drinking problem when the drinking's causing problems. And I went, oh, I have a major drinking problem. And I knew that was one of the things that was, instead of my vision and what I thought was doing this with how hard I was working and the life that I was giving my kids, what was happening is it was going so fast downhill, and the ability or my drinking problem was masking it. Like I just kept thinking, no, this is great. We just booked another trip and now we're doing 2 vacations a year and we're up to 3 vacations a year. Like, this is great. And really what was happening was the glass ball that they say can never break, which was family, was dropping at a rapid pace. And it was one thing that I knew I had to figure out how to get a handle on in order to create a happy life and save that glass ball.
Wow. So many lessons, Alisha. This is absolutely phenomenal. And it's interesting. I read something this morning. I do similar kind of morning study, morning devotionals. And I read a line that really stood out to me. It said, and they became stronger and stronger in their humility. And oftentimes humility is seen as a sign of weakness. Mm-hmm. Whereas the way that it was portrayed in the scripture that I read, and the way that I see that, is that those who are actually the strongest among us are those who are actually willing to say, I got a problem. I need help, right? And that's when, whether it be divine or whether it be someone here around us, that's when they're allowed to step in and help us. When we think we got it all covered and we're like, man, I got it. I don't need help. I'm strong enough. That's actually the weakest person in the room, because they're doing it all by themselves and avoiding and, neglecting the fact that they've got blind spots. And the fact that you're willing to say, hey, look, I got a problem in my marriage. I got a problem with my kids. I got a problem with drinking, which is embarrassing to say, I'm sure, out loud, right? Because nobody wants to admit that. Nobody wants to say, like, I got a problem with alcohol.
It was awful. It was awful. Yeah. being vulnerable is my 2020 word.
And that's why you're thriving, right? At home and in business, because you're opening yourself up to be able to receive help, right? I think everybody that's listening to this, whether your challenges in life pattern what Alisha's talking about, or if they're totally different, there's some great principles here, right? About being humble enough to ask for help, surrounding yourself with the people, whether it be accountability partners, whether it be a class like Bold that kind of wakes you up, and whether it be just this open admission that, hey, we got a problem. All of these things are what gives us the ability to then be powerful, to get the help to be powerful.
Yeah.
Amazing. So how have you overcome that, right? How did you overcome alcoholism, right?
This is a longer story, so I'll try to condense it, but secretly I knew I had a problem. I just wasn't, like I said, I don't know if it was strong enough, because I'm honestly one of the strongest people I know is myself. But I guess I should say I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to face maybe what my world would look like without it, what my friends would think about me, how I would feel about myself. I can't pinpoint that yet, because I guess I haven't dug deep enough in that part of my life to know what took me so long. But I truly believe that God shows up in ways that are incredible. And what I realized along my path is, when I ignore him, he thumps me really hard, and his thumps are painful when I don't listen. And he puts me in the right places, whether it was Keller Williams, or with my alcohol problem, it was Mexico. And we were sitting in the pool, and I had a drink in my hand. My son was 18, so he could drink at the all-inclusive resort. And we were all having a really fun time in the pool. And this family, I met this guy named John, and John was there with his daughters and his wife. And I said, let's go to the bar and let's get a drink. And he goes, oh, I don't drink. And I said, why are you at an all-inclusive resort? And he said, because my wife and my daughters like to drink, so I'm here. And that to me it just kept snowballing. And I thought to myself, I can't ask him right now, a guy I just met, how he knew he had a problem. So I waited 3 days. And 3 days later, we were sitting in the lobby on a Sunday night, and my son and his daughters had really hit it off, and he was just amazing. His wife was amazing. And we were sitting there talking, and the kids were kind of in their own conversation. And I looked at him and I said, how did you know you had a problem? And I think any alcoholic, we look for stuff like that people say to us and just go, oh gosh, this is our time to help somebody, right? This is our time, because we know those key questions that people ask when they need help. And he told me this story of him picking up a 18 pack of Coors Light on a Thursday night. And sometimes by Friday night, he was getting another 12 pack or 18 pack. If not Friday night, it was Saturday morning. And he coached his daughter's softball. And when he'd show up to their softball on Saturday, he'd be hungover, not in the mood to be able to be a good coach. And then he said, and my wife said, hey, John, do you want to come with us this weekend to go to this place? And in his mind, he thought, is alcohol involved? And when alcohol wasn't going to be there, he said, no, I don't want to go. And what John didn't know is that Friday before, every Friday, my best friend and I would meet at my pool. We would get really drunk every Friday at 12. And I would fight with my husband when he got home, because he hated when I was drinking. And it was just our routine. And that Friday, a few days before, she said, let's switch it up this week and let's go watch a movie. And I thought to myself, there is no alcohol involved in movies, and why would I go and do that? And thank goodness, I think it was because I made no movie sound great. I said, there's no good movies, let's go to the bowling alley, because I knew that at the bowling alley, there would be a bar there. And so we went, I drank, she didn't drink. And that to me was the moment where I went, I am John and I need help. And I knew, because I had promised myself before, let's stop drinking during the week. I'll just drink the weekends. Well, the weekends went to that Thursday, then Thursday went to Wednesday. And eventually I was drinking, all week again. And so I knew that I wasn't strong enough to quit on my own. So I looked at my son that next day in the pool, who was broken. Every time I drank, he would just look at me as I was a different person. And I looked at Izzy and I said, starting tomorrow, Mom is never drinking again. And he goes, yeah, right, Mom. And I said, no, I promise. And I knew in my heart that if I just made a promise to the one person, which there were a few, but the one person that had my heart, I mean, my son I raised as a single mom, he was my everything. He is my everything. And I knew that if I could promise him that I would never drink again, as hard as it was, as many nightmares as I had. I mean, that next year, I would call him every day and I'd go, baby boy, I just got on a plane and it's my first day I didn't drink. And then I'd call him again and I'd go, baby boy, it's Thursday and it's my first day I didn't drink. And he would eventually start laughing, going, Mom, this year is going to be a year of firsts for you. The first Thanksgiving you didn't drink, the first Christmas you didn't drink, the first time I got in my pool at my house where I didn't drink. I mean, I had a problem, right? So anyways, I know that was long and you probably didn't want to hear all of that, but that was,
again,
version.
We all struggle with demons, right? We all have our own issues. And I think whether it's alcohol or whether it's something else, the lessons that you shared with us will pay massive dividends to the people that are listening, that want to be big thinkers, that want to be high achievers. Alisha, I literally cannot wait until September 2nd when we can go deeper on not just the what you've done, but the how you've done it, right? Because as much as I wanted to squeeze in like how you built this empire without your kids hating you, we just didn't have the time to do it. And so let this kind of be a prelude to us going deeper on how you've been able to overcome these difficult things and really build a business and a life structure that allows you to be, again, one of the highest achieving real estate agents in all of Northern California, yet still have an amazing relationship with your husband, with your children. I can't wait. September 2nd, for those that are listening and maybe didn't hear the beginning, September 2nd at noon, I'm going to have the good fortune of hosting Alisha. She's going to be speaking and telling more of her story and how to build an empire without your kids hating you. If you're interested in registering, and everybody here should be, and you should be thinking about people around you that you can register as well, whether they be in real estate or not, here's the link. It's bit.ly/Empire Mom. Again, bit.ly /Empire Mom. Go there, register, secure your spot. We'll be sending out more promotional material as we get a little bit closer. Alisha, I'm going to end with this, the signature question of the show, which is, you're a big thinker. That's why you're on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. Thank you for everything that you've contributed, by the way. And you're also a high achiever. What does somebody like you do on a regular basis to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities? What does that look like for you?
I'm very big growth minded. So I listen to podcasts all the time. I surround myself. My number one thing that I found was we call ourselves the Empire Queens, and sorry, not the Empire Queens. We call ourselves the Cash Flow Queens. And it's my group of girls that we created at the beginning of the year who believe in each other, who think massively big. And we meet once a month with big, deep questions. And we really think about our life and what we want our life to look like. And not only what we want our life to look like, but how we can accomplish those things. So I think for me, it's continuing to surround myself with people who think bigger than me. If I'm the smartest person in the room, usually I'm in the wrong room, which is what I think Gary Keller says. So for me, it's constantly reaching for that next thing.
So powerful, so powerful. And it's evident, right? And the things you've overcome in the life that you're now leading and the inspiration that you're now giving back to the world, right? That recipe is tried and true. Thank you, Alisha. It's been such a pleasure. I'm just so grateful that I get a chance to now have you as a friend and be able to continue to be inspired by your story. I'm thrilled about September 2nd. Thank you for everything you've contributed here today. It's been masterful. Truly, it's been awesome. And I look forward to...
Thank you so much.
What's that?
I said, thank you so much. I'm excited as well.
It's my pleasure. And my final request of everybody listening here today, which is easier now that we've heard Alisha's inspiring story. They are these 3 simple words, and they are go, think bigger. Thank you, Alisha, so much. So much fun. Can't wait to stay connected, my friend. And September 2nd is going to be a big day.
Thank you so much.